Put your hand up as high as you can if you love cold calling.
I do quite like cold calling.
Okay, that's all right. Jessica?
Yeah, I love it.
Good. How do you feel about cold calling?
You don't want to know. Sorry. No, I
Talked about this on our onboarding call, didn't we?
I don't mind it, but I think it's the nerves of everyone listening to me, and then if I say the wrong thing, I'm like, shit, everyone's just heard me mess up. So yeah, I do get really nervous cold calling, and then I've had lots of calling reluctancy as well around it.
What about you, Lavissa?
For me, it's not the calling part. Like, I can call people. Like, for me, it's more the how can I be value? Like, what value can I bring to the other person to take me serious, to not hang up? You know what I mean? So
to come across as an authority, an expert.
Yeah, yeah.
Rather than a pest.
Yeah.
What about you?
If I'm really honest, I don't have really experience in cold calling because all of my BDM roles before AE were based on email, video outreach, different outreach, and we weren't allowed to cold call people because it was mainly B2C and there were some GDPR rules and stuff like that. So when I changed to the AE role, I have no problem calling prospects I'm already speaking to, but I have not a real plan what I do when I need to cold call people.
Well, that's going to change the game for you if you figure that out. Okay, so the first thing I want you to write this line down is there is no such thing as a cold call. Every call is warm if the person at the end of the call is breathing. Okay, literally, you are calling another human being, and within 30 seconds, a minute, you have the power in your hands to build trust, right? There is so much call reluctancy because of the perception of what it means to pick up the phone and call a stranger. And most of that comes from, again, what your parents say or what your friends say when you tell them that you're in sales. Oh, you must do that cold calling. Ugh, that's a dirty word. Or quite frankly, because people have told you to F off on the phone. But let's be real here. Like, the phone still drives the majority of business in the world. It's the main communication device. And while tons of time is spent on email, writing email, reading email, organizing email, deleting email, the phone is the most powerful way to build trust with another individual. 2, get their attention. And 3, actually qualify if what you do would add value to them as an individual in their world, in their business, or to their business, right? So, like, let's just let go of being intimidated by calling. Everyone at the end of the phone, I mean, it has happened to me though, to be fair, you know, when you call up and say, unfortunately, they're no longer with us. So it does happen, but generally, you know, touch wood, like, you're going to be speaking to someone that's breathing at the end of it. So firstly, just make the call. The other thing is, like, how you prepare. So we did that exercise earlier, like the hands, warming up, energy. Like, it's a muscle, right? It gets easier the more you do it. Competency, confidence. Even if you do not feel you're getting the best responses, getting it done first thing and picking up the phone as your first action and setting it as a schedule and time blocking to do that call and actually doing it and not going into email, not going into admin, or, you know, some of my managers in recruitment used to call is, you know, shuffling papers. basically, we all do it. We just get onto our browser, we open up another tab, we open up a CRM, we look at our tasks, then we open up Salesloft, then we check our LinkedIn account, then we go to the toilet, then you guys need 4 coffees, you know.
And you get the numbers that you were supposed to have ready.
Yeah.
You don't have them.
And like you've not organised, you haven't prepared the day before, like you need to, when that time is call time and it's in your diary, one, if it's not in your diary, you need to start putting the time block in your diary. That is, you know, it's sacred. Like no one interrupts that. The other thing is, I think it happens with junior people in sales, is there's this kind of lack of respect. It's not really intentional, but everybody feels like they can interrupt your day. Your managers think they can interrupt you. HR thinks they can interrupt you. Sometimes you need to be strong enough to say, do you know what, I can't help you with that. Even new people that join a business. Like, you know, there's always the newbie, and you will be the newbie. When you're the newbie, yeah, go and pester everyone. But when you're not the newbie, you need to sometimes create boundaries. Say, look, I'd love to help you right now, but speak to Johnny, he can help you with that. Or come back to me in an hour, because I'm in cold calling zone. Like discipline, we talked about discipline earlier. Like that time when you are on the phone is your time to be successful. So think about the warm up, like have your head in gear, don't be afraid, and make sure that you are intentional with how you execute on this call. So what I want to talk about in terms of like cold calling is just like a referenceable framework that you can take any of the calls that you're using now just as a reference point on the structure of a call that you can use. Let me just remind myself. Okay, so the first thing is the intro or the opener. Give me some examples. What's your opener, Nate?
I usually go, I'm addressing by name straight away as my first one, and then I'll go, look, appreciate, I'm quite jokey to try and like diffuse. So I'll be like, look, I know you weren't expecting this call, you weren't sat by the phone waiting for it. That was a very specific reason I was reaching out. Can I have a quick second to justify it? Okay, so that's your opener, and then you also have a permission. Yeah, permission-based opener. Permission-based opener. So you are, you know, asking for an amount of time. Yeah. Any other varieties, Jessica? You do it?
I say, hi, so and so. I admit that this is a cold call. I find that works really well.
Okay.
Like, this is a cold call. You don't know who I am. Here's why I'm calling. I find when I actually ask for the 30-second permission, I get more no's. So I just go straight for it of why I'm calling, and then say, this is something that you're responsible for, you're interested in, go shop further. Gotcha.
Any other variations?
So I say, hi, this is Kelvin calling from Store Lab. I was hoping to speak to the person who manages the e-commerce side to your business. Then we do have like a follow-up which is permission-based, but I'm not a massive fan of asking for permission, you know. If I've called you, you have to value my time as well, so let me pitch.
That's a good point. Like, I totally agree with that. You're not a subordinate in these conversations. You are a peer, right, on their level. Remember, you're the expert of your product. You're the expert in your business. If you're calling them for a reason. They're in your ICP. You believe that you have a solution that can solve their problem. So, like, meeting them on their level is really, really important. So, like, from the intro perspective is one. You know, you want to be clear with their name, right? Sometimes, obviously, if you have to figure out who that contact is, it's a different kind of navigation. But you want to, with authority, call out the facts like, hi, John. With authority, right? Where it starts to kind of, you don't call up a friend and go, hi, Sally, or like, is that Sally? Or you go, is that Sally? Like, there's hesitation. There's like, can you hear the differences, the subtleties? It's like, Sally? It's clear, right? How you say something on the phone is everything. And like, you need to speak with authority as soon as you open up the phone, you know, someone picks up the phone. And like, you know, asking the question, is that, you know, like drop that, like, is that Sally at so, well, fucking hell, you've just dialed the number. Like, if you don't know that, that's a real problem. So, you know, the direct opener for me is the key. The permission-based scenario is, you know, have you got 30 seconds for me to explain more about what we do, or just to let you know that this is a cold call and I want to give you an opportunity to hang up. Like that, they are possible and they can buy you time, because the other key thing in the cold call is that you give the other person at the end of the phone time to actually respond, right? So like the opener is just the icebreaker call. Actually, the person where you say the permission-based opener, where you say, this is a call, they don't 30 seconds into the phone goes, oh, she used the permission-based opener. Or like, oh, that person opened up the phone telling me it was a cold call. Like, the human brain doesn't work like that. You're going through the flow. So like the intro, it's less about what you say, it's how you deliver your opening line. So has anybody got some other openers that you use? What's yours, Kibitza?
So I normally try and look for a common ground, and I'll try and make a cold call warm. So I normally go, hey Sally, it's Kazeba calling from Ezra. Just want to quickly talk to you about, or I'll say, I noticed you have like so-and-so, whatever I've seen in the annual report. And then either I say, do you have a minute to talk about it, or is this a good time to talk, or just like go straight in with like a question. So what kind of learning and development programs do you have in place right now? Okay, cool. So the first thing, like the personalization pitch, that is helpful and super important. Like that's a trigger. Like you've identified something about them that you can reference. So I also feel like in your role, you know, naturally there are just commonalities on things that you can use about someone at that stage of the role. So for example, every leader or executive has worked at their company for a certain amount of time. So you can say to anyone you pick up to the phone to, I see you've been in the role at XYZ company for 6 months. That's such an easy thing, but that is actually super relatable. Oh, this person knows I've been in the role for 6 months. Like that's a split second. You don't have to pre-research that, because you should all have their LinkedIn profile of someone up while you're dialing the phone, right? That's just easy to do. So that is a line that again breaks the ice, is totally personal to them. It's the amount of time that they've been in the role, and buys you next time. This whole process of a cold call is not selling them on your company, not selling the product, is to get the next step. So all of this is a link. You know, so the hook, that's my hook. You know, once you've opened, you know, hi Sally, this is James from Sales Confidence. Pause. I see that you've been in the role for 6 months at XYZ company. Most of the people I'm speaking to right now face one of the following challenges. So that's a style of a hook. Most of the people I'm speaking to right now face one of the following challenges. Challenge 1, challenge 2, challenge 3. From what I've just described, does this impact you within your company? And because you framed and position some options, they at least have to give you some consideration or interrupt you. The problem you have by asking if it's a good time is what? Well, it's not a good time. It's never a good time. It's never a good time, right? That is like that comes back to the permission side of things. Like,
you basically want them to say, yeah, it's a really good time and I'm so happy you called me at this time because this is the best call I've ever received. That type of question is going to lead you like down that path. Now, what you can do, like in terms of like reacting to them, is you can like, you know, listen intently to what they're saying and be like a filler. So I'd prefer to call this a filler. Once you've done the hook, a filler would be, I appreciate I might have caught you off guard, or I appreciate, so you're empathizing, I appreciate that I might have caught you off guard, or I appreciate that this may not be a good time. Let me just explain though why I did call when I've called. And also repetition is important because remember, they haven't really grasped what's going on. You have interrupted their day. They didn't expect the call. They've heard a few things come out of your mouth. They're not sure. There's this other thing that tends to happen, I think, with cold calls is you do your pitch and you think the job's done because you've read your script. And then you're like, whoa, I read my script. Are you going to book the meeting? They've just forgotten everything you fucking said. Like, people don't remember or grasp what you've got. So like the key thing is what I said here is the next step. The next step is, have you bought some time? Like, have they not hung up or have they not interrupted you at this point? If you've got some time, then it's what you're doing with that extra time to get some more time to then extend the time, right? Can you see my point here? Like, often we're so driven on the outcome of like, I need to get this person and book them a meeting, that you rush it. And also that you create objections that aren't actually there because of the fact that you kind of speedily get through your pitch. Whereas ultimately what you're doing is, I just need a bit more time with this person. Any examples of other like hooks or like value props that you use, Nate?
And to be natural in this moment, yes.
My colleague has one that he likes. Says the only thing, so I know I can appreciate you don't want to receive this cold call. The only thing worse than you receiving one is me having to make 100 a day.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good. That's really good.
It's probably just like, you could never say that to someone in Germany. So they just don't care.
Yeah. Go get a better
you do your 100 calls, bye.
So what? Great examples. So like, you know, a couple of things that come out there, like also have fun. Like, honestly, like it's not that bad. Make it enjoyable for yourself and make it enjoyable for the moment with whatever your like personality. And sometimes you maybe need to work at that. Like what actually, like, okay, what is something that I can like disarm them with? You know, that works for that, but like what works for you?
Last conference in September, one of the speakers was saying, when doing cold calls, like, why would you introduce yourself? If you go speak to someone in the street and ask them for the hour, you're going to be like, oh, I'm Caroline, and what time is it, please? And when you're calling, like, just go straight with your value prop. And once in a while, I have to show that I can steal prospects, so I do pick up the phone. And
good for you.
I've tried it, and it actually works. So I was like, okay, fine. It's just because of my upbringing and picking up the phone at my parents, be like, hello, this is Caroline, who is this, like, blah, blah. It's so cringy for me to not introduce myself, but actually saying like, hey, I've noticed you're using this and we've been doing this and that. Is that something relevant? Oh, by the way, calling from footage.
Yeah, or let them say, sorry, who is this?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, sorry, let me explain. My name's John, I'm calling from XYZ company, and then repeat what you've just said, right? Like you go back to it. Like, so that is a great way, because there is a bit of a problem with that opening line where everyone goes, this is my name, this is my company. Right, again, their internal colleagues don't call them up and say, it's John from across the room, you know, we work at the same office and we work in the same company, let's have a now chat about business. They don't, it's just like, you know, I noticed that you're doing XYZ. We help companies with XYZ, or I've been working with people like you at the following companies: Social Proof. So Social Proof is another one. You know, competitors is always a good one. but also you got to be careful, because sometimes we'll say, well, hold on, like you're working with my competitor. But you know, these are all scenarios that you can manage. Now, this often, discovery is not what we typically call the cold call, right? Discovery is the next call. But actually, discovery is just questions, right? You need to qualify if they are worth your time. And you want them to qualify you to understand if they want to invest any more time with you. You know, right now, like this is still the dance that you're in, right, on the call. It's like, I've told you that, you're telling me this, I'm not going to tell you that. Do we want to dance? Like, this is a good conversation, am I feeling good about it? Or they're like, cut. Your ability to keep the dance going is the skill. And actually, that's when cold calling becomes the most fun. Because you control every step in the call. The muscle gets so good at it that you know exactly what's going to come out of their mouth because you've heard it 100 times. They think they're unique. They tell you a problem. And you're just like, I've heard exactly that thing before. And your brain just goes, this is my next route, or this is my next step, right? So, like that's why all objections are helpful and healthy, because it lets you take it to the next step and frame it. So the discovery is, you know, what 2 or 3 questions allows you to help them uncover that they have a challenge in their business or a problem in the business that your solution obviously supports and solves. Now, this is where it goes in lots of different directions. You don't need to solve everything in their business on that call, right? You need to get their attention to what? Get more time. And that time is you booking that second call, or the booked meeting for your AE, or another call with you. Now, at this point, you only need one thing that you can support them with for them to give you more time. Once you've got that one thing, that's you going in for the kill. So the other thing that happens is people don't close the meeting quick enough. So you start going in a conversation, they're enjoying it, you're dancing, they're having a good time, you've asked another question, they tell you something else, you ask another question. And basically there's this peak of interest in a call, in anything, where if this is time, I'll move out of the way in a second, and this is interest. Basically, to begin with, there's no interest in what you've said, like it's cold, yeah? And then like, you get to this point in the hook or the discovery where they're showing interest in the time of that conversation. And then you have this dance, and then it drops. They basically lose interest because they realize they've got something else to do, they've got somewhere else to be, they've got an email to write, they've got a job to do. Why am I talking to this person for 5 fucking minutes? Like, you need to close the meeting at the peak interest, at the point where they've demonstrated and they've understood, and you've understood, that you can help them by them investing more time to learn more about you, your company, and your solution. If you wait too long, you're losing. You're losing the idea. And the really like effective meeting bookers and cold callers are getting them to that peak state of interest. Now though, once you've got what you came for, i.e. the outcome, the next step for more time, the meeting, the next conversation, you can spend as long as you want. And the fun is keeping them on there, learning as much about their business to prepare you for the next meeting or prepare your AE for the next meeting. That's the skill. The skill is not having a really long conversation and waiting the end to book a meeting. The skill is to book the meeting as soon as you've got peak interest, and then you can then decide if you want to ask them 5 questions, 10 questions, 20 questions. And again, you know, if you're having a tough day on the phones or a tough week, and you've just got that successful meeting, don't just hang up and then celebrate. Like, spend the time to learn more about that company, learn your industry. Use that person and leverage them to improve your knowledge, your skill set. And then you decide, I'm done with the call, and then you hang up. Like, that's the kind of self-awareness and control. Does that make sense to people? Is there any questions around that?
I have actually a question. Sorry, back to the intro.
Yeah.
What about if we don't have a number to the specific person and we need to go for gatekeeper, etc.? How do we make that happen? Because I came across a few times that, oh, they don't have a personal number, just email them, or stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Who's got a response?
So I had this. So I've started doing this thing that's quite good. So we do a lot. Well, I do a lot of triangulation, and if you can build enough rapport, you can. So like, I try and always just ring mobiles. I'll ring anyone. And if you build enough rapport, you can get them to like either intro you in, so go and call it out. So go, look, let's try this. I want to speak to, I don't know, Carol, and go, hey, look, I want to speak to Carol, and they'll go, oh no, so just send her an email, and you go, oh look, I'm sure Carol loves receiving emails from me from cold. Look, I just want to make sure I get some value. Try and understand if you can through them, and if not, go, well look, you've spoken to me, pretty sure I've got a number, can I CC you into email, or can you do an introduction? Or the best one I did the other day, I just went, okay, so you said there's no one to speak to in the finance teams. There's no one to speak to in the finance teams. And you said, I'm not going to send it to a generic email because you're a finance app, because we all ignore those. What would you do? And you go, I'd probably speak to Celine. Celine, is it? And then I got Celine's number. So just like if we've all made cold calls, we know what the standard fob laws are. If you call them out and like ask them, and you've got the report, they kind of let you in. But you've just got to call it out beforehand. Go, she hates these emails. Doesn't like. I know she's not expecting this call. Like, how can we help? Because I'm not. I have. Your worth on the call. Like, you're not pestering them. You're providing value, but you kind of adjust the tone of it. It's really, really powerful.
So that is called the third door, right? So this is a really great concept that some guy at an event told me about it. I kind of used it, and he kind of explained what the third door meant. So if you think of a nightclub, right? There's the front door, right? It's the entrance at the nightclub where all the every man and their dog queues, right, to try and get into the front door. When you're calling a office manager or an IVR, a kind of call tree, like you're at the front door, like everyone else, like a mug, basically trying to get in there. The second door is what in a nightclub?
Back door?
Not yet. VIP.
Oh yeah.
Right? What do VIPs get? They go straight in when they arrive, right? And the VIP route is you know someone, and therefore you're going to get the introduction. Like the third door is the back door. It's the owner's entrance. Like when he wants to bring his best mates, like he opens up the door and they have a drink before the nightclub party starts off. Like the best parties are in the third door, right? Find your way to the third door, don't be like everyone else. So the third door option, there's some good examples there that he's used. But in your mind, sometimes, I'll just give you some stuff that's coming to mind. The first one is, actually, you call up and you say, hey, I'm trying to get hold of Sally, head of marketing. And they go, well, who is it? And you start then explaining yourself, don't you? And then you're like trying to pitch them. And you say, look, don't worry, I've got their number, but it's not going. I've got their mobile number, but it's not going through. Can I just confirm that I've got the right mobile number for you? Oh yeah, sure. You just read out a mobile number, like it can be yours.
Yeah, I do that.
Okay.
Clever.
Yeah, you read out the mobile. It says it's 07. Like I think it might be an old one, but this is what I've had from her in the past. And the brain says, what does they want to do? They want to correct you. And so you start reading it off, and the person in the brain goes, no, her number is 078226 whatever, right? So that is a line. Sometimes you have to do a lot of door knocking before you can get to that third door. So the other kind of a tactical way to do it could be possibly you call up well, frankly, you just go through to a different department. What's the one department that it always picks up?
Customer service.
And accounts. Yeah. Right? Because they want to get paid. So often an accounts person will say, you get on the phone to accounts person and Julie picks up, say, oh, sorry, Julie, front desk said they were putting me through to Sally. Can you just put me through? Internal people have the ability to put you through to someone else. because they're on the system. So it's annoyance for them, but you can actually get them to put you through. Whereas the office manager or the PA is trained not to put you through because that's their brain and their training. Whereas someone innocently that sits in another department, it's fine. Now, customer success are also trained not to put you through because they're like, it's policy, we can't share numbers. But someone like in accounts, so like you might have to work a few other people around. So like if you put a dot in the middle, that's the person you really want to get. That's the front door. Around that person is all these other people that might not be your direct ICP, but is there a way to get hold of them, which then allows you to get hold of your person? Go on.
James, just to reiterate that, because I can really emphasize, so we work with SMBs, so it might not be the same for everyone else, but so they'll have a dial tree that says press 1 for customer service, press 2 for sales, 3 for accounts, 4 for warehousing. Most of the time, the CEO is actually on accounts because, like you said, they want to get paid. So everything else they can delegate, but when it comes to receiving their money, more than likely will get through to them on that.
Interesting, right? So there's loads of different variations. The other thing is like, you know, you're emailing these people anyway, so it is really like you're just doing emails. That's what you're doing. What you wanted to do is get the person on the phone to write the email and CC you into it. Right, so you say this, I said, look, can I just explain the message I want to get to Sally because her mobile number's not working. Can you just put in the note the following? James is calling you in relation to, like you almost like relay your pitch, and then you say to the person on the phone, can you please CC me in because I'd really be gutted if she didn't get the message today. And suddenly you're on a CC train with an internal email. Like,
sorry, I have another example.
Go on.
Don't know that. I very often find, especially in Poland, like whenever I'm calling people, before I even finish saying my surname, they get like, where did you get my number from? From the GDPR perspective, you shouldn't be calling me. Let's say this is their personal number, not work number. But that's what I got, let's say, through one of the Zoom info or whatever.
Yep.
How do I respond to that? Because I always struggle with it.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I call it out. I love cold call's my favourite bit. I apologise really profusely. Right, I've done this a lot of times, and it's not 100% right reckon. It's about 60%. You go, I am so sorry. So you address it. You go, I'm so sorry. It's just on our system. Like that's absolutely unacceptable. If I get a phone call, if I got a cold call, oh I hate it. It makes me feel sick. Oh I've become that person. That's so. I'm really. This is like really wax lyrical, right? So you go, this is just, oh, this is so awful. I've just disturbed today. It could have been like your mum or something. This is horrible. And they go, yeah. And I went, I'm really sorry. And they'll go, oh, they'll usually go, oh no, it's all right. And go, look, actually, just quickly. And they'll just forget it. The amount of times it works, but when anyone brings up something they're upset about, address it straight away, apologise, and then if you wax lyrical, you can get away with murder. The amount of people.
I totally agree. Like what happens to you when you walk into a retail store and the retail advisor comes up to you and says, can I help you? What do you say? It's just a program response. Like, I don't know why retailers have not figured this out because they're losing loads of business. But like literally you go into a retail shop.
But whenever you need them, they're nowhere around.
Yeah, exactly. Right. When you need to pay, you can't find them. Right. It's bizarre. So all that person is they just don't like the idea that someone they don't know is calling them because we don't like cold calls. So I disarming them I think is a great way. Like hands up. I'm really sorry. I'll make sure that this doesn't happen again. However, as I've got you, can I just take a moment? Or, let me explain why I actually did want to get a hold of you. So I do think you can address it easily. Because right now you're going, oh, GDPR, like, I stopped worrying about, I'm a small business owner, and it was expensive to try and go for it. I was like, no, I'm not gonna, I'm wearing it. Now, other companies might have tougher policies, and it also depends on your industry, so I'm not advising that you shouldn't ignore it, but the reality is, people have got better things to do in their day than report you for making a cold call.
Unless you're going around, and then I've had that problem with my team quite recently because we're working on a lot of markets, namely Germany, or that can get really irritated, like, oh, GDPR, la la la. And then if you don't answer straight, they can feel it, and that's when they start like really getting annoying, like who's your PDO person, etc. What I'm telling my team is like, apologize for reaching out when it's not right. Tell them that according to GDPR, this is where we found that number. If it's Lucia, if it's LeadIQ, let's be clear about it. This is GDPR, but just address it. Do not faff around. That will irritate them.
Yeah.
And you will get yourself and everybody else at the company in trouble. Address it, be honest. That's the best way to go. And then move on. And if we need to escalate it to PDO, fine. But don't faff around. That's what irritates them and damages the brand.
Yeah. Okay. So is that giving you a couple of ideas? All right. So the hook, where you've like put in your value proposition, you've done a bit of discovery. We've tried to get the meeting here. If that's not worked, now you've had a dance, you do have the permission to pitch. i.e. you've earned the right. And the reason why the questions happen before like another pitch or the pitch is because you actually have just got some information from them. Based on what you just told me, we can help you with XYZ. We work with, you know, and then it's your script piece. So like you might put in a one-liner value prop pitch here before you've hooked their interest, but remember they forget everything you've said. You go and have a conversation, there's questions happening, you might already identify that you can help them, so you're asking for more time. If it's still not happening, you use what you've learned on the questions to re-pitch them, like the value of why they should invest more time with you. Again, you're not trying to solve everything for them. You want to be able to kind of create more time. And then the final piece is, you know, quite simply the close and asking for the meeting. And again, we've covered that in this framework. You can ask for it as soon as you've got your teeth into one area that you can support them with. But you know, you're always asking them to agree to a next step if it's qualified for you. You know, if it's not, then you're moving on. But if that's the right person in your target ICP, in your territory, you need to close that and make that happen. Any more questions around cold calling?
I don't have a question, but just on the thing with where did you get my number from? I think one thing that also worked for me is from your website. Sometimes they just have like this main number and no other number on there. And they would just put the main number everywhere, but they have different departments, and they would never check if they have a direct number standing there, which you have from Lucia or Zoom Info, or the normal number everyone can call. So when in the moment they're asking you, and you say, oh, I had it from your website, they will never go back to the website and say, oh, do I actually have really my direct number on the website? They will just like, oh yeah, we do have our number out there from the company for people to call us. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But if it's a very personal one, or it will be...
I mean, yeah, with the personal number from, yeah. But I would never, I personally would never call the private number.
You don't know if you get.
But how do you know if it's?
You don't know.
Okay.
And so my team is almost only calling mobile phones.
Okay.
And that's why I'm telling them to not lie, because it creates a stress that you can hear in the voice. Don't lie, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty ruthless. I would just say, look, I got it on our database.
Yeah, but
that's it.
How is it in your database and it's GDPR compliant? You don't have the right to do it.
So I've just got it from my database. I'll say that like 5 times over. Like if you're gonna book a meeting, great. If you're not, then I have a million other prospects that I need to be calling.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you know, this is a grey area. It goes on. Yeah. Just I want to emphasise a couple of things. One is tonality, the tone of your voice. So I said earlier when we were doing the video, like you got to own your voice. It is your own voice, but you can adapt your style. You know, you can turn on more energy, you can be louder, you can be enthusiastic. This is amazing. I'm really excited about the fact that we're speaking. Or you can match them on a level with authority and explain the reason why this was important for me to make this call today is I've understood that these are the 3 areas that your company is working on for the next year, and we've supported companies just like yours. Would you like to hear me out? Or can I just ask you 2 questions, or whatever the next stage is? Tonality is something that you can improve, work on. The other thing is mirroring. You know, if they are really quiet, then slow right down and say, oh, hey, match them for the voice. But remember, you're in control. So sometimes what happens when someone says, oh, you mirror, you just copy how they sound, and then you lose them because you go into like their tone. And let's say someone's really soft and quiet, and they're like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, you can explain why you're calling. Yeah, it does sound interesting. Like, you know, we've already got a solution in place, but, you know, maybe we could explore this. And then you're going, like, we can help you with this, this, this. And then you don't actually energize them as well. Remember, you're actually what's happening on a phone is this transfer of energy. You know, it's air, isn't it? Like, that's a force, it's energy. So you also, your energy and your enthusiasm has to be measured in a way that moves them to that next step or next time. So match, mirror, yes, but also I want to get them to the next step. I want to infuse them. I want to drive my energy. So these are lots of different variables when you listen back to your recording calls, and it's awkward to begin with, and we don't really enjoy having our calls recorded, but you can start to analyze these areas. But if you're not aware of them, you know, because no one mentioned it, everyone just talks about the script all the time and the words that you're saying, but it's really the other elements around it, the tonality, the mirroring, the energy, and the other major thing is the pause. How are you using pauses, and are you pausing? Because the pause is what allows space. So there is an opportunity at all of these stages to pause and give that person time to open up, to explain, to give you feedback, to have an objection, so you can come back with an objection after you've paused. So, like, you know, the power of the pause is really useful to help you manage the call effectiveness and allow you to kind of be effective. You know, but ultimately, in summary, you should get so effective at cold calling that you know exactly what that person will say because you've heard every objection, you've understood everything that's being said, and you can control that. Any more questions before we move on from the cold call? Is it?
One additional tip, I hear it from other people, that if you don't feel confident, you should have a body pose very confident, like how you will feel if you will be still, yes? And when you are sitting in this case, you feel emotionally more confident. If you will sit like I'm afraid and I don't know what to do, like our body language, even you are speaking with someone, it was a tip like to look in this line of between roof and wall, yes, and like to sit more to how to say, with open view, yes, yep. Not here and not, yeah, but to feel confident, to have a good chair, and in this case your body language will support your emotions and your confidence from inside. Totally agree. And also your breathing. You know, I just came back from Tulum. My friend does a lot of breath work and meditation, and I do some mindfulness and practice, and it's something that we're not taught how to breathe, we just do it, right? But what happens when you're nervous and anxious, you know, your breathing changes and you're like, oh, I've got to make this call, and you know, and you're not expressing yourself fully. So that's definitely a good tip, and how you can think about being more effective.